Hello everyone. Hopefully this is going to be a quick video. In this video I will just cover these questions here. So basically it's just a question of, is it price discrimination or is it not price discrimination? Before I start, just a little bit of a review. Basically, price discrimination arises when a firm charges a different price to different consumers, but the difference in price does not arise from a difference in cost in offering the cost to different consumers. So basically, it's saying it's price discrimination when the price is the same, but for some reason, the cost, sorry, this price discrimination when the cost for the firm of offering the good is the same, but then the firm charged a different price. If the cost for the firm is different for different consumers, and it charged different price, that's not called price discrimination because the firm is just charging different price because it has a different cost of offering the good. Okay, just a quick review I wanted to do here just because I made a mistake in the videos with the PowerPoint slide where I said that when movie theaters charge different price, it's not price discrimination. It was actually price discrimination. Okay, so I just wanted to do this small review here, and I made this video so that we can kind of review this all together. Okay, so there are 5 examples here, right? You're supposed to tell me, is it price discrimination or not? You should obviously try to answer these before I do, and then just restart the video. So a restaurant charges a different price for a burger and a pizza. Okay, is this price discrimination? This is not price discrimination. And why is it not price discrimination? The reason is pretty straightforward. It probably does not cost the same amount to make a burger for the restaurant and to make the pizza, right? So there's completely different ingredient in both. One is probably a little bit bigger if we like consider a larger pizza, right? So the pizza is probably bigger than the burger. So there's a different cost to producing these two goods. So we would expect that a firm does not necessarily charge the same price for these two goods. And again, it's not price discrimination because the two goods are probably a different price or a different cost for the firm to produce. A nightclub's as a ladies' night where female patrons pay half the price on cocktail. Okay, this is an example of price discrimination. Female and male patron, when they drink a cocktail, it's exactly the same cocktails, there's no difference. So it's exactly the same cost for the firm, for the nightclub, to offer the cocktail to the female patrons or to the male patrons. And for that reason, this is what we would call price discrimination. I don't know if this is actually even legal in BC. I know that in multiple states in the US this is illegal, right? It's a discrimination based on gender and you're not allowed to do that. But anyway, in any case, in the states where it is legal in the US, it would be called price discrimination. So people who book a flight to London, UK, pay more than people who travel to or book a flight to Toronto, Ontario. Okay, this is not price discrimination. The reason is pretty straightforward. It's much longer, it's much further to go from Victoria to London than it is to go from Victoria to Toronto. So you can imagine that it costs the firm, the airline company, more money to fly people to to London than it costs the firm to fly people to Toronto. And so for that reason, the flight to London should have a higher price than the flight to Toronto. And this is not price discrimination. Okay, again, because the cost is different for the firm. A store offers a promotion in which it sells at a lower price if consumers buy at a lower per unit price if customers buy 10 units. This would be an example of price discrimination. Okay, we are discriminating amongst different consumers, and we're discriminating on the amount that they buy, right? The cost per unit of selling one unit to consumer A or to consumer B is the same. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't change anything. It's not because a consumer buys 10 units that the cost per unit for them to produce those 10 units for this consumer is cheaper. So basically, consumer A and consumer B should be paying the same price. However, if consumer A buys 10 units and consumer B buys less than 10 units, they're going to pay a different price. This is an example of price discrimination because the cost for the firm is the same, but the consumers are paying different price. Okay. Another example, E, if you book a flight on a Tuesday, the price is usually cheaper than on the following Friday. Okay. The cost for an airline company of flying you, right, from Toronto to Victoria or from Victoria to Toronto is the same if you take the flight on a Tuesday or if you take it on a Friday. Okay, the cost is not different at all. However, right, firms or airline companies will often make the tickets on Tuesday cheaper than the ticket on the Friday. Okay, this is another example of price discrimination. Just as a conclusion, it's really important. This is what I want you to think about when we talk about price discrimination in this class. The question is always, right, is the cost for the firm of selling the good or producing the good for the two different types of consumers, is it the same? If the answer to that question is yes, the cost of producing this good for the firm is the same, then if the firm is charging a different price to the two consumers, then it is an example of price discrimination. Best example here, right? I make a old-fashioned. The old-fashioned is the same for female and male, so it costs the firm the same, but I price it differently for female and male. Price discrimination. Okay, so really important. There's definitely going to be some questions relating to this in class or in the exam. I try to enjoy making you tell me if something is price discrimination or not. And a lot of students, especially in this case here or in this case here, a lot of students wants to say it's price discrimination. It's not, right? Just be careful. Not everything, not every time people pay different prices. It's actually called price discrimination. Price discrimination in econ is a really specific case. Okay, thank you very much.